Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast known as Qualified Immunity, where two people with years of experience with inside of a system debate the system, the effects of the system, and how to possibly fix it. My name is Greg Engel. I was a law enforcement officer for almost a decade. I have multiple certifications, including Special Weapons and Tactics, Hostage Negotiation and Rescue, and Advanced Special Weapons and Tactics. My co-host, his name was Lucas Cohen. He is the third-year law student at a very prestigious university, and in the next 12 months will be known as one of the most hated members of society, an assistant district attorney. Lucas.
They aren't that hated. Hi everyone.
They're that hated.
Only by certain people.
They're that hated. You hate them that much.
I hate them that
much. Today it is. We're recording this on Sunday the 19th. When you hear this, it probably will not be Sunday the 19th. But we're going to talk about a very, very fun topic that I can almost say two different ways. How religion warped politics or the separation of church and state.
Okay.
And this is going to be fun. For one reason and one reason only. Contrary to popular opinion, the two people you're looking at on your screen or you're hearing on anything, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, Overcast, and about four others I can't name, we are actually very religious people.
Sorry, I'm trying to restrain myself from smart remarks.
Do have the smart remarks. This is going to be good.
You're religious?
No, I'm not religious.
Okay. Just
I'm spiritual, not religious.
Okay. Not really sure what you mean by that. I mean, alcohol's a spirit.
Okay, pot. My name's Kettle. How are you?
I drink occasionally.
You drink occasionally.
Yeah. I mean, this weekend is the first time I've had a drink in a long time. You know this. Don't act like you don't know this.
You didn't drink with me last weekend.
That was less than a shot. I mean, that was just like a taste test. I mean, that does not qualify. That does not even come close.
Okay. I'm not going to touch it. I believe certain things. I also believe that theology and spirituality have been drastically bastardized based off of the origins of them.
That's an incredibly vague statement. I'm not entirely sure what you mean. Sorry, that's the
that was the entire point of it being. It was an incredibly vague statement on purpose. Asshole.
That's the lawyer in me. I don't like vagueness.
That was an incredibly vague statement on purpose.
I'm always going to ask you what you mean.
I mean, I personally do not believe that Jesus would have been approving of the current system.
Oh, I don't think so. I don't think so either.
I also think there's a lot of Karens or Dylans or Chads. Hypothetically, if your name's Karen, Dylan, or Chad, you listen to this later. We're not personally attacking you. That use religion and use what I believe to be irrelevant parts of Christianity to invoke legislation to govern morality.
Well, I think what you're touching on is the Americanization of the Christian faith, which I think is a terrible thing that's happened. American churches there's so much.
You know what I'm saying,
Yeah,
though.
yeah. American Christianity is a very specific.
It's not origin Christianity.
Right. I would almost argue that it's not Christianity.
Well, and
It verges on what I would call idolatry.
I can see that, but you've also got, okay. Let's clarify something first and foremost. The separation of church and state is nowhere in the actual Constitution.
Right.
It's not. It's
well, in the Declaration of Independence, it repeatedly invokes not the name of God, but it refers to Creator, nature's God. I mean,
and you've got to think about something too. When the Declaration of Independence was written,
yeah,
it is an entirely different world than it is now. It is more connected with human nature and humans to nature. Like,
right.
Farm to table was an everyday occurrence.
Right.
And I'm not, like, before we go into depth in this and we get on some rabbit hole, like, last time of going, when you had this look at me, you gave me this look when I was talking about abortion. You're like, what Kool-Aid did you drink? And it's like, no, well, we still agree.
Yeah.
I believe in a God.
Right.
Statistically proven, though, those in poverty are more likely to have religious foundations. It is harder for a rich man to get to attain. Why? Even biblically, this is true.
Well, it depends on what you mean by religion. I mean, there are a lot.
Christianity. Let's stick with the major three.
Most of the wealthy people that I know, they go to church.
But are they spiritual?
No.
Most
of them are.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a difference between being religious and being spiritual.
And I think part of that is they get educated, which whatever you
educated.
Want. Yeah.
Edumacated.
And they, I'm going to sound like such a hippie. They, which I kind of am a little bit, this. They get so-called educated and they think, oh, I don't need that spiritual part of my life.
Yeah, I don't need the spirituality of it.
I don't need that primitiveness.
Well, and there is, and I don't have a source to cite this, and I tried to find it, but I honestly believe it, that if you take the root word of religion back to politics, you take the root word of religion back to Latin, it actually translates more into bondage than it does freedom.
You mean the etymology of the word?
Yes, take the etymology of the word religion back to Latin. And we're going to get... we just lost 12 viewers because we're like, etymology.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to get deep and this is going to get real. And it will come back around.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
It's true, isn't it?
Yeah. Religare, to bind. Religion is where that
Yeah. It was like the root word, the etymology of religion.
That's fascinating.
You really didn't know that?
I didn't know that. Which is funny because I'm more of a linguist than you are. But
this is very true.
Religare, to bind, and that developed into religio, which is obligation.
Yep.
And then religion.
The actual root word, the actual roots of the word religion, I've heard it said as to enslave, but to bind would be the same thing back to Latin.
Yeah. Conceptually, it's the same thing.
Conceptually, it's the same thing. So you start with this mindset of like, what are we doing? Because I actually heard this from a pastor at a like revival church service kind of thing.
Right.
Of we're not religious people. And he had taken it back to that point of looking up going, we're not religious.
Right.
The problem has now become in America that government has become a religion.
Politics has become a religion.
Both of it has.
Yeah. Actually, yeah.
Both of it, both, because you have stuck this point of going, and the actual, like, when I was writing out the show notes for this show, it was how the church affected racism through religion. Because it actually happened.
To a degree, yes. I mean, if you're okay, so I'm trying to think how to start this.
Just run with it.
A lot of racism is also based in the idea of evolution. I mean, there is some of that, and it's hard to deny that.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because for a long time, the perception was, oh, people are more evolved or less evolved based on basically their standing in the world, and people thought, oh, white people have conquered half the world, that means they're superior. Obviously, I don't believe that. That's garbage, complete garbage.
I understand that, but there's a flip side to this, of going, how do I say this without making a bunch of people mad? Actually, when have I ever cared?
I thought that was why we're here.
Yeah, we're already down that rabbit hole. Jesus wasn't white.
No, he wasn't.
Jesus wasn't white. I will pause 10 seconds for station identification so Karen can understand that Jesus was not white.
Have you ever heard of like the original concept of, I think it was called the bell curve, and like the rankings of IQs of different people. The tests were horribly flawed, and really I don't think
it was not double blind at all.
I don't think it's accurate. But I did find it interesting that whites were not at the top of the list.
No, they're not.
Actually, people of Jewish descent were.
Yep. But people don't want to talk about that.
Yeah. Which obviously that was influenced a little bit by politics.
I'm going to ask you. I know you know this answer, but I'm going to ask you because you are a better linguist than I am when it comes to this topic.
Okay.
Explain the separation of church and state.
Well, that depends on what you mean.
The actual historical constitutional separation of church and state, because there's a lot of people out there that legitimately believe the separation of church and state was written into law.
Well, and to some degree it was. I mean, in the Constitution, it makes reference, no religious test shall be applied for the holding of office.
Yes, but it's. And
actually, I've dealt with that a little bit. Because my religious denomination.
I'm going to say something that's way more controversial than it's meant to be.
Okay.
The Constitution of the United States was written in more of a agnostic form than it was in a religious form.
Right. Well, agnostic or pluralistic, I would say probably.
Yeah. Okay. Pluralistic can work too, but
basically not taking a side.
It is an entire concept, an entire experiment, an entire theory of not taking a side. Right. A religion. The only thing that separates the United States of America from Iran is a religious theocracy.
Yeah. I mean.
Now, there's like 7 boomers that just had a heart attack because I said that.
Well, I was going to say there's a lot of cultural difference too, but all of that mostly comes back to religion. I mean, religion is the key part to every culture.
But and you will hear tons of people run up and ever down. The United States is a Judeo-Christian country. That is an absolute blatant lie.
Yeah. The other thing is that word wasn't around in the 1700s.
No, that word wasn't around in 1802 when the theory of separation of church and state actually manifests.
Yeah.
Okay, the separation of church and state actually manifested itself from a letter that Thomas Jefferson wrote to the Baptist Association.
Yeah.
That entire theory of separation of church and state came from a letter, not litigation.
Right. That's not constitutional, and for the most part, it's not court based. It has come into courts quite a bit, but
bake the cake.
Yeah. The theory on separation of church and state that I've always heard was the government is not going to manipulate your church.
The government is not going to manipulate your church. However, that changed
right
with the passage of income tax.
Right.
Because the theory was, and this is a history lesson, after we qualify what we're about to say, I will directly go at the theory that the organized church, especially in the South, has directly contributed to racism.
Yeah, some specific denominations, very, very much so.
And I will call it out right here now. The Southern Baptist Coalition has directly contributed to racism.
They've contributed to a lot of prejudicial problems.
Yes, they have. But you have to understand the beginning. If you don't understand the beginning of where this comes from, you can't qualify your argument when it comes to, well, we have separation of church and state, because it's always going to be that fallback, that crutch.
Right.
And in all reality, it doesn't exist.
Right.
So Jefferson was talking to the Danbury Baptist Association in Connecticut. The Baptists were worried about the freedom to practice their faith, writing to Jefferson that what religious privileges we enjoy as favors granted and not inalienable rights, which is inconsistent with the rights of free men. Jefferson wrote back in a letter that religious liberty, free from state tampering, would be a key part of the American vision. The Constitution would restore man to all his natural rights. In the same letter, Jefferson explained the intent of the Establishment Clause and the Free Exercise Clause of the First Amendment of the Constitution, which reads, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting free exercise thereof. This, he said, built a wall of a separation of church and state. They have, most people on the right and the left, whatever, have cherry-picked a line from a letter from Thomas Jefferson in 1802 and bastardized it across everything.
Yeah. Well, context is everything.
Context is everything. Jefferson was not suggesting that religious people or religious motivation should be exiled from public debate. As a matter of fact, the letter was from a religious people appealing to an elected official for their rights, an elected official who, by the way, attended church services during his administration inside the United States Capitol. In its day, a constitutional prohibition that the state would not establish or restrain personal faith was truly revolutionary. This becomes the problem. We have come to a moment in time to where I don't believe my religion says, not my religion directly, but religion says I should not allow this. Therefore, I have to legislate and come up with make it a crime and punishment issue. And the number one issue, I'll talk about three of them. Drug use, LGBTQ rights, and one that's it's weird, but it still sets in there. Polygamy.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because all three of those and every law that is written against them was not written on the merit of scientific fact. It was written on the merit of religious belief. And that being said, all three of them, people don't understand this either. Until the 1950s, one nation under God wasn't there.
Yeah. Yeah.
One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, wasn't there.
I mean, the pledge wasn't actually around until the late 1890s, I want to say.
And it has been...
Which, there's a lot we could talk about.
It's been modified at least 3 times.
Yeah. That
I know of.
Yeah.
So we have got to this moment of time of going, drug use was criminalized based off of one reason, really. The drug war was started. If you've listened to the previous podcast, you know our beliefs on that. The drug war was started because as a direct reaction to the civil rights movement. That being said, it was qualified and justified by what? Religious beliefs.
Yeah.
A good Christian man.
Right. Well, and you also, since we're going to talk about drugs, I'll roll alcohol into that a little bit. I mean, the temperance movement was almost entirely based on church action.
Yes, it was.
I mean, it was heavily influenced by church action. And that ended up with prohibition.
And that ended up with the mafia.
Yeah. I mean,
that ended up with La Cosa Nostra.
You and I know how that went. So,
like, if you have any idea what the name Al Capone is, that entire thing was based. Al Capone would never have been a person that you would have known in American history had not Prohibition happened. Convince me otherwise.
Well, you could make the argument that he would have found something to make money at.
Yeah, but
alcohol was really easy in the 1920s.
To be the dawn of the dawns.
Yeah, that's fair. He would not have been on top. Certainly not.
No. And the problem with prohibition is prohibition, just like a drug war, ends in violence. People that become addicted to a substance are going to do whatever they need to do to get that substance.
Yeah.
Second point, LGBTQ rights. I don't give a damn what your religion believes. It is not the government's job. One, I will take this back to the very core of everything I've always said. The government does not have the right nor the authority to determine who you can and cannot marry for one simple reason. Why is the government determining marriages to begin with?
Well, and that's been my position for a long time. 2 points. Number one, both of these go to, why is this even an issue? Number one, why is the government so involved in sex and marriage? I mean, that's really none of their business.
No, it's really not.
It's nobody's business.
It's nobody's business. Who you sleep with, who you have sex with, who you have intimate relationships with, who you have anything with is none of the government's business at any level. Local,
as long as it's consensual.
As long as it's consensual. You're right. Let me qualify that again. Your sexual relationships, your intimate relationships, what you do in your bedroom, whether it is with a man or a woman or other, it's none of the government's business as long as it is two consenting adults. And there's a whole argument there on age of consent, etc. But
this also goes to the polygamy issue. And
polygamy and polyamory and multifaceted relationships. If nobody's ever seen the TV show Sister Wives, go watch it. Go watch it. You're going to get an entire look at it from a logistical standpoint. These people have had to move multiple times to avoid the law because they wanted to live differently.
Yeah. Well, and
you and I have debated this, off the record. Lucas and I have debated this off the polygamy and polyamory off the record a lot.
And there are some finer points we disagree about.
And there's finer points we disagree about. That being said, we've debated about it for years.
Yeah.
What are we doing right now? We're sitting on a show together, discussing the idea, going, "Hey, I don't agree on everything with you. You don't agree on everything with me." With that being said,
we agree on one thing:
the government has no goddamn purpose to be in it.
Yeah. The second thing on LGBTQ rights, and I really don't want to be misunderstood, but I'm going to go ahead and say this anyway. Again, why is this an issue? Because LGBTQ, I mean, I don't care if you identify as that or not. You're still a person, and you have
100%.
Rights. You have all the same rights as any other person, or at least you should.
Now, the problem becomes, and we might end up getting sued over this, Baptist General Council has spent a lot of time and a lot of money trying to influence politics and legislation that is prohibitive of LGBTQ individuals.
Yeah.
Why? Because the problem, well, I don't believe that, and my pastor doesn't believe that, and I don't think this should be thing, and we can't make that legal, and damn them hippies. Fuck you, dude. This is the entire problem with the church, because the first thing they're going to do is they're going to run out with some Leviticus era law.
Yeah.
Leviticus law just makes you annoying.
Well, Leviticus law is fine when you've got a tiny little country made up of all one people serving all one.
This is my problem with Leviticus law to begin with. Where is it at?
In Leviticus?
In the Old Testament.
Yeah.
And this,
well,
if you don't, if you, some people may or may not understand the next 30 seconds of this podcast, but I'm going to run down this anyway. When the veil was torn, the Old Testament no longer applied.
See, I think I disagree with you slightly.
I know you do,
but
it's when the veil was torn.
Yeah.
At that moment, there was no longer a separation. And the laws that the government of the time, otherwise known as the priesthood,
right,
had given the people no longer applied. Because you can't just, and you don't, but I mean, I've got ink.
Well, I don't think you know of.
You have secret ink?
No.
I was like, you have like the Millennium Falcon on your inner thigh or something?
No, actually, if I did have ink, it would probably be religious, ironically.
Yeah, I can say that. Because like my next ink is gonna go right here.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna be directly religious.
Yeah.
But there's a phrase that says.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I know what the phrase is, actually, because you say it all the time.
The devil says you can't withstand the storm. The devil whispered in my ear, I can't withstand the storm.
Right.
I whispered back, I am the fucking storm.
I just like the memes that have, you're not prepared for the storm, and I answered back, you're. Like, wrong. You're. There's an apostrophe there.
There's an apostrophe there. But you get to this moment of time of like, according to Leviticus law, I have no chance at anything.
You sinner.
Get fucked. But it's like you have the problem of going, and we disagree on the finite details of this. But if you're going to invoke one part of it,
yeah,
you have to invoke all of it.
Well, and that,
which means anybody that has pierced ears, you're screwed.
Well, and that's not just logical. I mean, there's actual biblical scripture that says if you violate one part of the law, you violated all.
You violated all of it. So now we have Karen running around taking one part of Levitican law and saying we have to invoke this right here, right now, in the real world in 2020, or when the actual gay marriage issue came up, I think it was 2008, 07, 08, somewhere in that time frame. But we have to invoke this right here and right now because Leviticus says it's wrong.
Well, the ironic part about the polygamy is
it's biblical.
Yeah, I'm not. There is one New Testament reference that I could probably make that says, "Hey, that's probably not the way to do things." But the Old Testament, I mean,
it was biblical. It was required.
I don't know if it was required, but it was just socially acceptable.
Within certain instances, it was required.
That is true. Under certain circumstances, actually, it was required by law.
And if you invoke Leviticus law, if you invoke Leviticus law, and this shows how much we legitimately have studied this. If you invoke Leviticus law, if you're my brother, say you're my biological brother,
right?
We both get married,
right?
You cannot have children for some reason. You cannot conceive a child.
Well, yeah,
under the law.
The law that I was thinking of is
under Leviticus law.
If we don't have any children and I die.
Yes. Whose responsibility is it to conceive a child with your wife? Your brother's.
Yeah.
It's like people don't want to talk about that part of the Leviticus law. And this is down a diatribe that I'd never meant to go down because it's so thick and it's so in depth that you gotta keep it simple sometimes. But people have to understand when Karen looks up at a city council meeting and is like, we cannot allow this to happen because, by God, the Bible says it's wrong. She's full of shit and she doesn't know what she's talking about. Like, I guarantee you she's sneaking wine coolers in the closet at home to get away from her kids. I know more theology than she does, and I say fuck a lot.
Yeah, you do.
I know more theology than she does. And what you're attempting to do is you're attempting to restrain somebody based off how they want to live, which you can make your religious argument all day long.
Right.
Have at it. That is not an American principle, period, dot, period, dot, period. Boy, you got a thought working.
I'm wondering if this is worth chasing. So,
Mm.
my libertarian tendencies, I actually base those on my religion.
Yeah.
Do you know where that comes from?
No. Not off the top of my head, anyway.
So, and I kind of equate this to natural law theory, like the natural state of man. Garden of Eden, if you read Genesis, there's a specific command, hey, don't do this.
Don't eat the apple.
Yeah. But they still had the choice to do it.
Yeah, you're right.
There was punishment for it because
there
was a clear rule, but it wasn't, oh, we can't allow this. Like, you're not going to be able to do this. It's just, hey, don't do that.
Well, but then I could flip that on its head. And
that is true. You can make an argument against it.
I can flip that on its head. Like, we told you not to speed. Here's your punishment.
Well, yeah.
But the difference is free will. A police state does not invoke free will.
Right.
The Garden of Eden.
And I know a lot of people that support the idea of a police state.
But they will wholeheartedly tell you all day, every day, they are liberty-loving American conservatives.
Actually,
that want to shove religion down your fucking throat.
Most of them will say that. I do have one friend who doesn't even try to tell you that he's liberty-loving. He tells you people shouldn't have choices. And a lot of our political arguments together, I find offensive.
Oh my God, I kind of want to get in this. Do I know it?
No, I don't think you know it. No. But we disagree on a lot, and if he had his way, people would not have the choice to disobey.
Or what?
Well,
is he trying to say mask it or casket?
See, this is the thing.
Somebody said that to me today.
See, the meme for that is, guess I'll die.
No. They were saying it in a total totalitarianism undertone.
Okay.
But
my response to totalitarianism is, go ahead. Like,
the theory was, you wear a mask in public, or if you get seen without one,
yeah,
it's deadly force.
Yeah. Well, my response to totalitarian policy is always, I'm not going to comply. I won't comply. You do whatever you want to do, but I'm not going to comply with that.
Yeah, I agree with you. Which is odd because you're a pacifist.
I know. It gets.
You're a pacifist.
I have a lot of people argue with me about that because I'm a pacifist.
Like,
well, what are you gonna do?
I told somebody today, I'm like,
die.
if we're gonna start this shit, let's go. I'll go kid up in shorts and toms, and we'll go start this.
Yeah. There's
a line from a movie that my wife always reminds me of, and there's this big bearded man. It's from 13 Hours. It's the Benghazi story.
Yeah.
And he runs out when he starts the attack starts, and somebody that runs out that everybody says I remind them of, and they're like, one guy looks over and goes, "You gonna go start the holy war in your or are you gonna go fight the holy war in your shorts? Brave move." And I'm like, and my wife every time we watch that movie will look over and be like, because I would totally. He runs out plate carrier
Yeah.
M4 and all, in shorts and like sandal. I mean, like basically shorts and Toms.
Yeah.
I'm like, if we're gonna do it, if we're gonna go there, then I'm gonna be comfortable.
Yeah.
But it turns into this whole mindset of going, we've become a theocracy that uses legislation to punish those we don't like. And there's multiple instances in the South, especially, where religion was used to subjugate minorities to harsher penalties. And if you don't agree with that, go do some research.
I will say there were some areas where churches actually stepped up and pushed the civil rights movement, but in the South, certain denominations were.
The Southern Baptist Coalition. The Southern Baptist Coalition was one of the biggest.
Talk about being on the wrong side of history.
But they're on the wrong side of history with everything.
They're still there.
They're still there. The Southern Baptist Coalition was on the wrong side of history when it came to civil rights, when it came to Jim Crow, I'll say that again. Jim Crow, then suffrage.
Yeah.
Women voting. The Southern Baptist Coalition was against women voting. They were on the wrong side of Jim Crow, suffrage, civil rights, LGBTQ rights. They've been on the wrong side of history forever. And they're still the biggest denomination in the country. And I'm not, like, I could piss off a lot of people by saying this too. Billy Graham was a good person. What his son has done with Billy Graham's legacy,
I'm actually kind of disappointed. I know a lot of people that are.
Franklin Graham is a joke to liberty, to freedom. Franklin Graham could legitimately tomorrow be the Ayatollah of America, and everybody would be like, "Yay!" Like it's he's a disgrace to the theory of American theology.
Well, my biggest issue is I'm disappointed that he has taken something that was, I would say, pure. I mean, it was very religiously minded. I don't know if I would say religiously, spiritually minded.
Billy Graham.
Very concerned with human.
Billy Graham gave a shit about human beings.
Yeah.
And he put his theocracy into it, and he made sure that his message was heard. That being said, Billy Graham cared about people.
Yeah.
Martin Luther King Jr. cared about people.
Right. Who, by the way, was a pastor.
Yeah, he was. John F. Kennedy cared about people. And you know this about me. What's my daughter named after? My firstborn was named after JFK. Because I've told you this forever. If I can be half the man in my entire life that he was in half of a life, I did it. I did something right.
Yeah.
Because JFK was the first libertarian president of the United States.
You got Jefferson, but
Jefferson is the entire basis of separation of church and state.
Yeah.
But the problem is he left enough gray area in there where he was religious and he wasn't going to enforce it. But that being said, he wasn't going to banish it.
Right.
There is the difference in the details that I honestly believe this. John F. Kennedy was the first libertarian president of the United States. That is also why he only lived halfway through his first term. Bobby Kennedy would have been the second. I just like the Kennedy name has been so trashed over history by Republicans that prove
it's also been abused by Democrats.
Oh, 100%. 100%. 100%. Like,
I mean, it wasn't even 6 months and they were already using his name as a tool to get their policy pushed.
Like, the most libertarian president in history, was succeeded after death by the most racist, vile ridiculous person that never should have held the office of president of the United States in Lyndon B. Johnson. Lyndon B. Johnson Lyndon B. Johnson would have never held the presidency had not JFK been assassinated. And Lyndon B. Johnson was one of the most racist motherfuckers you will ever step foot on the face of the earth. Period. And there's a phrase, and we beat around it because I don't want to repeat it. Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act as a voting tool.
Yeah.
I will have those blanks voting Democrat for the next, I don't remember the exact phrase, 50 years.
Something like that.
You have got to understand that religion, and what was Lyndon B. Johnson? He's a Southern Baptist.
Was he a Southern
He
Baptist?
was a Southern Baptist. Go look it. Lyndon B. Johnson was a Southern Baptist.
Continue, don't wait up on me.
Well, no, because it's a big deal. Because you're like, oh, do you just hate Baptist people? No, I hate your ideology that thinks you can legislate your morality into society. Quit getting so fucking. And I said this to somebody literally an hour ago before I walked on. I was like, I was late getting here because I was in a discussion with somebody. Millennials, our generation, is the most accepting libertarian generation in history.
So I'm getting conflicting answers.
There is conflicting answers. That's why I'm like, you can't. It won't be proven.
I've seen Methodists.
I've seen it's Methodist or Baptist.
I've seen Disciples of Christ too.
Oh God! Would you like to explain to the audience what Disciples of Christ are?
Well, Disciples of Christ are not the same as Church of Christ. I mean, they kind of are, but not really. I've met a lot of very liberal members of the Church of Disciples of Christ, if that makes sense.
But I'm not liberal.
No,
You know what I'm saying? Like, we get stuck in this paradigm of going, well, if you're religious, then you have to be conservative.
Right.
Well, why do you want gay people to be married? Because I don't give a shit, Karen. Well, you think people should have more than one partner for their entire life? Because I don't fucking care, Karen. Why do you have to be in somebody's fucking bedroom? Why is it the government's job to be in somebody's bedroom? Because the only reason the government has any remote control on marriage or the idea of marriage is because of taxes. Oh, yeah, by the way, that amendment was never ratified.
So his funeral was held at the National City Christian Church in Washington, D.C.
Did anybody attend?
I don't know.
Like, I don't know how anybody likes this guy.
Eulogies were given, but
There it is.
Eulogies were
There
given,
it is.
Eulogies were given by former Texas Governor John Connally.
Yep.
Connally.
And John Connally.
You're not gonna like this. And the Reverend Billy Graham.
What? I'm not gonna like it because you cannot give a eulogy for a devout racist like them. Be like, yes, but Jesus loves everybody. Like, everybody's gonna come out and be like, oh, Greg's a fucking atheist. I'm not. But stop using your organized religion ridiculousness to directly influence what can send people to prison for the rest of their lives. Polygamy is a felony in the state of Oklahoma.
Yeah. Well,
polygamy in Oklahoma is actually outlawed in the state constitution before the right to bear arms is mentioned.
I'm not sure even you know just how much hold the Baptists hold over the state.
I do.
They always have.
Because I worked on a campaign of a Catholic that ran against the Baptist.
I think it may actually still be on the books. There are laws in this state against Catholics. I mean, against Catholics running for office.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they might still be on the books.
I think they are.
I don't think it's gone to court because after a while, people realize, hey, we can't really enforce that.
But it's still there.
Yeah, it is. And all
You know the campaign I worked on.
Yeah.
And that man deserved 100% to be in Congress. 100%. He is one of the most conservative, keeps his beliefs out of it.
Yeah.
That I've ever met in my entire life. That man is on my very few list of idols. Because he has his beliefs, and they are very traditional Catholic beliefs, but he does not implement them
right
in public service, and he has been elected, 30 years?
Well, historically speaking,
Catholics are the most libertarian people out there.
In America, the Catholics are actually doing a better job than any other.
I'm a confirmed Catholic, and everybody looks at me like,
yeah,
like they do.
Yeah,
because people don't like Catholics here.
Yeah,
and the Catholic Church as a whole has some very, very disagreeing policies.
Well, and as further evidence of the Baptists running the state, you know this as well. So at the national level, oath of office at the national level, you don't actually have to say "So help me God." That's not actually.
Yeah, no, you don't. You have to say it in Oklahoma.
In Oklahoma, it's a part of the oath of office.
You have to say it.
It's in the Constitution. Now, so I didn't say that when I took my oath and it wasn't actually even an oath to get a certain legal card. I mean, I don't have a bar license yet, but
I never said it when I got elected.
Really?
Nope.
You opted not to?
I said, "So help me." Everybody misses the last word.
I didn't even take an oath because my religious affiliations.
I also never took an oath when I was a cop that said, "So help me God." I would always say, "So help me."
Yeah.
The state does not have the right to invoke that power.
Right.
Like, the state has no idea.
The state doesn't have any authority to invoke the name of God.
I agree with you, but the problem is they don't understand that, and they're going to do it anyway because religion has adversely tainted policy.
Right.
Like, we are a theocracy, especially in a lot of southern states, of what is our governmental theory? Well, what's the Bible say to begin with? And then we're going to add on stuff we need to make money.
Right.
The government is a business. Oh, you're thinking. I can see the steam coming out of your ears.
I was going to let that go. I wish you wouldn't do that.
Don't let it go. Run with it.
Well,
run with it.
Back during when, that was, that would have been 2013 or 14 when the Supreme Court made their decision on gay marriage. Was that 14?
Yes.
14. And a lot of Christians, or American Christians, were very upset. Very, very upset that went through. They talked about, we're going to fix this. We have to fix this. Whatever. And after a while, I just started telling them, if you're really that upset about it, like you actually think that gay marriage is a sin and all that, this should be a huge favor for you because it tells you who you need to be ministering to.
But
if that makes sense.
Okay. So I fight with my mom all the time about this.
Yeah.
Like the second it was like, me and my mom can get in an argument like that over gay marriage.
Yeah.
Because
it's something you and I have in common. Apparently.
Oh, can you do it too?
Yeah, my mom and I got into an argument the other day about Black Lives Matter stuff.
Seriously?
Yeah.
You didn't tell me about this.
We'll talk about that another time.
Yeah, we will. Because now I want to know. But you get this moment of like, me and my mom get in a fight over gay marriage every day of the week.
Yeah.
Or Pride Month. The reason we got in the fight over it was June. It was Pride Month. And I looked at my mom, who has been a church person for
Yeah.
60 years.
Her entire life.
Her entire adult life. She's not raised in church.
Okay, I didn't know that.
No, neither one of my parents were forced raised in church. My dad's mother became a Seventh-day Adventist like when he was like 16 or 17. He got married at 17.
Yeah.
So,
that's interesting.
Yeah, never forced to be raised in church. They didn't get the social conditioning I did.
Right.
But she's like, I don't understand why they need a month, and I don't understand this, and I don't understand that. I go, why do you care? Well, because it's immoral. And I go, and I looked at it, and they go to one of, if not the biggest church in the state.
Yeah.
And I go, what are you gonna do if they walk into church? She goes, I'm gonna love them. I'm gonna welcome them. I go, okay, why can't you do that now?
Yeah. What's the difference between being in church and being everywhere else?
Well, they don't need to be pastors, or they don't need to be this, or they don't need to be. Stop. The entire problem with the church is the most judgmental organization in the entire world is the American church that directly influences politics in America to hand down judgment based off of a book. Am I wrong?
Well, I do find it interesting. All these Republicans that were anti-Sharia law or whatever, they basically have the Christian version of that.
And they've pushed it for decades.
And every time it comes up, they fight tooth and nail to keep it.
This is what bugs me about that. Leviticus law and Sharia law are not that far apart.
Fairly similar.
They're fairly similar.
Because both of those religions trace back to the same person.
Yeah, they do.
To some degree.
I mean, to some degree, they do. The funny part is, Jesus is mentioned more times in the Quran than he is in the Bible.
I've not read the Quran, so I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
I have a copy. I'll let you borrow it.
Okay.
It's actually pretty interesting.
It's in English, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have an Arabic copy and an English copy.
Arabic or?
I have an actual Arabic copy.
Okay.
Actually, I have 3 different versions of the Quran. One's in English, one is in Iraqi Arabic, and one is in.
I was going to ask if it was actual Arabic or if it was. Is it Farsi?
I was like, and the other one is in Afghani Arabic, which is more Farsi than it is Arabic.
Right.
No, I read it because you read it and you're like, this sounds awful familiar. And then you're like, Jesus was actually mentioned more in the Quran than Muhammad was.
Okay.
Like it's
right.
If you've never read it, it's easy. You've read the Torah.
Yeah.
Because you've read the Bible.
Right.
But there's 3 major religions in the entire world.
Yeah.
I also would make the debate that you should read the Catholic Bible because there's history in the Catholic Bible that is not in the Protestant Bible. And the context matters.
Yeah.
And I think the more context you can get, the better. That's just my opinion.
Have you ever read the Catholic Bible in the Latin Vulgate?
No, but I've been in a sermon in which it was done.
Damn. I actually have a Catholic Latin Vulgate Bible.
Seriously?
Yeah. That's
impressive. Like, it's just, the Quran is not the evil doctrine people make it out to be. Like, I have a very, very good friend, and I'm going to text them tomorrow and ask them if they will be on this podcast.
Okay.
Because they're from Iraq.
Oh, really?
Born in Baghdad.
Okay. Interesting.
Immigrated post-war. Yeah.
Which one?
The most recent one, asshole. The most recent one.
Right.
But that's just it. Like, you have to understand that the religion that has influenced our society is not based in Christianity. It's not based in any of that. It's based in statism, control, and bondage.
Yeah.
So, if anybody ever tells you well, the Bible says this. Send them to me.
Well, the question should be, does it
Does it?
first? I mean, does it actually say that? And a lot of times, I think the answer is going to be no.
Context is everything.
Yeah.
And quit picking a side and start looking at people as human beings. And at that point, your entire paradigm will change. Your entire paradigm will change. We are on a process of a journey to make people understand other people as humans. Who you love, who you have relationships, intimate or otherwise, doesn't matter. That wasn't a part of the American ideal. The American ideal was you had the choice to choose. With that being said, we're out of time. As much as I want to keep this going for another...
We're going to have to do this again.
Another hour. We're almost going to make Religious Sunday kind of thing. Where I just start taking out sticks and segments of, well, the Bible says this, we need to enforce it. But remember that. People are humans. And I don't care what religion you are. In America, most people are somewhat Judeo-Christian. Jesus said, turn the other cheek. And yes, you're taking that out of context. I'm really not. He also said the only commandment that matters is love your neighbor as yourself.
Well, there are only two. Well, the two greatest commandments.
The two greatest commandments. That's it. Like, quit starting to stick 10 commandments to state capitals because, sorry, my opinion, they don't apply.
My favorite argument to make, we're over time. My favorite argument to make is when somebody says, "Oh, the 10 Commandments say this and this." My response is always, "Well, the 10 Commandments say not to murder people, but that's a pretty low standard."
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, if you're
you're right.
If you're really arguing that we should follow the 10 Commandments, you're a little behind.
With that being said, Lucas, tell people where they can follow you on social.
Not on Facebook. Twitter. Sorry.
You got banned from Facebook.
At the Lucas Cohen, and I'm also on Keybase. Whatever.
Nobody knows what that is.
Yeah.
You can follow me on Instagram. I'm trying to think of the list now. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, at Greg J. Engel, Jerry G. J. I. N. G. L. E. At Greg J. Engel. If you have me on Facebook, I'm probably not gonna notice it because I'm never on there. And YouTube, at Greg J. Engel. With that being said, we're gonna end this the way we end every single podcast with my favorite quote that I will live to flourish in the rest of my life. That is the purpose behind this podcast. Live today, love tomorrow, and unite forever. Till Valhalla, guys. I love you live. Lucas loves you. I love you. We all love you. With that being said, you can talk to Lucas for 27 seconds.
Where are you going?
I gotta pee.
Where are you going, Pinocchio? I can't see the comments on mine. Hey guys, what's up? These comments are really interesting. How did I get banned from Facebook? I got banned from Facebook over political stuff. I was admin on a group that was very political, and we got banned for that reason.
Oh, did you actually
Yeah, I'm reading the comments.
I really want to figure out a way to
share those with you.
Yeah, because I can't share the comments with you. Oh, fuck. The ring light helps.
Helps.
Just your look.
Thanks. I need all the help I can get.
Not according to some people.
I know.
Oh. I need to go back and like read the comments. Dude, I swear to God, and this is legit. There's more agnostics out of millennials than anything else.
Probably. Why?
That's a total culture shift.
Yeah.
I still think you're agnostic. You don't know yet.
No.
I can totally see you being agnostic.
Not an agnostic, no.
You think I'm agnostic?
I think you're somewhere between agnostic and deist.
I'm. What's the clockworker theory fall under? Or the clockmaker theory?
That would fall under deism, which
Then I'm probably a deist.
it's a particular brand of deism. I honestly, I think you might be a deist. I will admit there are a lot of issues that, I mean, I'm willing to just say I don't know, and quite honestly,
I don't think I've ever been like had anybody legitimately say I was a deist before.
Well, most people don't even know what that is. Most Christians don't even know what that is.
True. But because anytime I've ever said the clockmaker theory, they've always said, "Well, you're just agnostic."
No,
And
no,
I'm like-
that's not agnostic.
I'm like, that's not agnostic. I'm not agnostic.
Because you admit that there is some sort of higher power.
Yeah, an agnostic
That-
doesn't.
Yeah, those two are.
The agnostic says it could be.
Yeah. Well, the basis of agnosticism is I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Deism usually takes the form of I'm pretty sure there's something out there. I just don't know what it is.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of me. I'm pretty sure there's something out there.
Now there are deists that are I think Christian, but
There's a whole faction of Christian deitism, an entire faction of Christian deitism. Like that's a ooh. The problem is a lot of Christian deitism turns into statism because they need it. They need the deity.
I'm not sure I follow.
A lot of organized Christian deitism turns into statism, turns into populism. They're
Okay,
populists.
Yeah, I would be tempted to believe
Because they're deists because they need the deity. They know it's out there and they know it exists and they want it.
that. Right.
It's almost subconsciously they want it. Versus me, I know it exists.
Right.
I'll deal with it if I have to.
Right.
But I think it's a lot of like life experience too.
Yeah. I am curious what our listeners think as far as religion goes.
Deist God believes in God. Okay, then I'm a deist. Somebody just said deist God believes that God is hands off with the humanity they've created. I'm a deist.
Well, that's the clockworker.
Yeah, that's the clockmaker theory. Because the clockmaker theory has entirely, like, somebody said the clockmaker theory to me when I was probably 13 or 14 years old.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
about God a God making earth and setting everything
in motion, and he will not touch it unless it is there's no other solution.
Well, if you're pure clockmaker theorist,
if the clock breaks and nobody else can fix it,
right,
then the clockmaker will mess with it. But it's just that Welcome to the after show. Like, this really is like the after show. I have a theory. Like, I think I'm going to do something. You want to do it with me? No, it's not fair if you do it with me.
I'm worried about what it is.
Rogan does a thing that I was going to do this year.
What, smoke weed?
No, Sober October.
What is Sober October?
You know, it's like no alcohol, no caffeine, no drugs.
Ooh. I was going to say I'm already doing Sober October, but the caffeine.
It's like literally, like, if I can find somebody else to do Sober October with me, I'll do it. Boy, you're thinking about that awful hard because you want to see if I can stay sober for a month.
No, I think it would be good for you. I mean, generally, something like that is good for everybody.
Mentally or physically?
I'm wondering if I want to do it because of a caffeine issue.
Are you going back in person? Or do you know yet?
We don't. The statement is right now we are going back in person with masks. But I don't think that's going to hold up after what I've seen the past 2 weeks. People are starting to lose their mind again.
You want to do an episode on stalking?
Okay.
And how weak the laws actually are to it?
Well, I haven't looked at the laws on it. I know police will not do anything about it.
Dude, it's because I've literally tried it.
Yeah.
I just thought about that. Like, I've literally, not stalking. I've literally tried to file stalking charges. And
I mean, I'm not even sure if stalking is enough to file a protective order. I don't think
it's really not. Because you have to prove stalking.
Right.
It's like harassment charges.
Yeah. When do you want this to go out? Tuesday? We've already got one for Monday.
Then yeah, Tuesday. I cannot believe I'm about to dump a bunch of money into this. Looks good. Just want me to hit the button?
Yeah. That way I don't have to take responsibility. Has anybody else on there commented about about their religious beliefs or spiritual beliefs, whatever they want to call those?
Most people are agnostic. But like when I sat down, I was like, "Oh, I'm agnostic. I'm agnostic."
Okay.
I'm agnostic. I'm agnostic.
All right. I think I'm out.
But do you want to do the whole like? Okay, since this is the after show and these people like get to see a bunch of stuff that normally doesn't get seen.
I mean, if they're still here,
All 12 of you.
I feel like they've earned it.
Next week we're gonna do emotional and physical harassment. Now, qualified immunity covers that, both directly and indirectly. We're going to do, in the same episode, we're going to do stalking. And then, because there's a lot of cops who emotionally, physically, and verbally abuse.
Yeah.
First responders. I'll just put first responders.
I mean, there are reasons for that, but if you look at the statistics, what is it? 40% higher.
Cops and firefighters.
Yeah.
Like cops and firefighters, domestic violence is rampant, fucking rampant.
Which I think speaks to the emotional and mental issues that.
Oh yeah, 100%. Because, well, I'll just say this: have you ever seen a deceased minor?
No.
You know how many I've seen? Lots. Yeah, we're gonna do one on emotional abuse of people.
I think I just figured out how to read the comments on this.
Really?
Yeah, but I can't do it with the video playing.
Oh, like your video's still playing.
Yeah, I can't see myself. But...
Oh. Okay. We're gonna do a stalking episode because I think stalking laws are incredibly weak and ineffective.
What? Sorry.
I said we're gonna do a stalking episode.
Okay.
And stalking / emotional violence / domestic violence episode, in which qualified immunity directly applies to it.
Sorry, I'll stop doing that.
That's my line. Oh. That being said, if you're part of the groupie group, no, take it back. I'm going to bed. He's going to bed. I'm going to bed. We're all going to bed.
Not together.
Yeah, not together. Besides, I have the better beard, so we all know how that would end. I love you so much. You want to do Sober October?
Sure, maybe. Let me think about it for a week. I mean, it's July.
It's your one chance.
One chance. Oh, okay. Okay.
Because you just want to see if I can stay sober for a month. Sober October with a workout goal.
With a workout goal. I'm intrigued by this.
At the end of October, a United States Marine Corps CFT.
Let me think about it.
Combat fitness test.
Let me think about it.
Whoever has the better score buys the other one dinner.
Let me think about it.
No, that being said, it's been fun. It's been real. I love you guys. Roughly 9 p.m. tomorrow night. We get together about 8:30. So roughly 9:15, we'll be on live again. That being said, love you. See you later. Bye.